It's important to have children and to create the new generation. And as simple as it sounds, if people do not have children, there is no new generation. So I'm very much in favor of humanity expanding and creating a bright and exciting future for the world. But fundamental to the furtherance of human civilization is having humans. As simple and basic as that sounds, and every year I look at the birth rates and I'm like, it's a bit depressing because birth rates seem to decline every year. And I think that perhaps my biggest advice to leaders, to government leaders, and to the people in general would be to make sure to have children to create the new generation. This is so fundamental, and I really can't emphasize that enough. If you don't have a new generation, there is no new generation. In 3 generations, maybe 4 generations, the population will be 1/10 of its current size. So I always want to emphasize this point because it is so basic and fundamental that if there's not at least a birth rate which is keeping population constant, then a people will disappear.
Disappear, Mr. Musk, disappear.
Disappear. Now, I think the climate change alarm is somewhat overblown in the short term. It's still a concern in the long term, but I think it's exaggerated in the short term.
Great.
Now, I'm trying to thread the needle here between what is pragmatic and what is sensible, what really matters and what doesn't matter. What really matters is that over the long term, over the course of the next several decades, that we gradually reduce how many millions and billions of tons of carbon that we remove from underground and to the atmosphere, because we're running sort of a climate experiment that is dangerous. But I also don't think that I think of it as a fundamental civilizational risk. It's not going to destroy life on Earth. It's not going to destroy humanity, but it will create hardship if you change the climate over many decades. So I think my message is I think much more pragmatic and I think correct and sensible. And I don't think we should demonize oil and gas. I think we should say, look, that is obviously necessary in the short term and the medium term too, and it'll take several decades to become sustainable. So I think if we just, without getting too worried about it, seek to have a sustainable energy future gradually, then that's what will happen. And so, but I think that some of the environmentalist movement is part of what is causing people to lose hope in the future. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we should have hope in the future. We should be excited about the future, and we should build the future we want.
What about, you call it the woke mind? Yes, it's the name you gave to that,
woke mind
that
virus,
illness, woke mind illness. What's that virus?
Yeah, so
it's coming to Europe. I have to advise you, huh?
Yes, well, this is not something you should import from America. Please don't import the woke mind virus. So essentially that. To summarize maybe the woke mind virus, it consists of creating very divisive identity politics. So it actually amplifies, woke virus, mind virus in my view, amplifies racism, amplifies, frankly, sexism, and all the isms. And while claiming to do the opposite, it actually divides people and makes them sort of hate each other, and it makes people hate themselves. And it's also anti-meritocratic. It's not merit-based. So you want to have people succeed based on how hard they work and the talents, not who they are, whether they're man, woman, what race or gender, that stuff is all it's an artificial mental civil war that is created. And it's not, and let me tell you, it's no fun. Okay. It is like woke mind virus and fun are incompatible. There's no fun in that. No joy. Woke mind virus is all about condemning people instead of celebrating people. Like when in the woke, it just doesn't celebrate. It's all about condemning and being divisive and being just, I think it's just evil, frankly.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad. And that's why we have to have a new generation. We've got to build and we've got to grow. And like I said, we understand the nature of this beautiful universe that we find ourselves in and the meaning of life, or even what questions to ask about the meaning of life. Let us explore this wondrous creation and have a good time doing it. That's my philosophy. I'm very much in favor of legal immigration. I think that generally, one should welcome to a country anyone who is willing to work hard and is honest, has high integrity, and will add to any given country. If somebody is an asset to the country, why not have them join? But if it's illegal immigration and there's no filter, well, how do you know who's coming in? You don't know. So you have to have some basis for saying somebody should come in or not come in. And my argument is like, it should be a very simple basis. Will they add to the country? Will they be a productive part of the economy? And do they admire the culture? Do they want to join because of the culture? Then that's great. But if there's no process for that, then you don't know. So I want to be clear. Top line, pro-immigration, but let's increase legal immigration, but we should stop illegal immigration. I think this is just logical. And I think Italy is an incredible country, incredible culture. I love visiting. I love the Italian people. I think you guys are amazing. Like, Italy is a great place to invest. It's a great country. But I do want to emphasize that I do worry about the low birth rate. And if a company is to invest in Italy, they're like, well, you have to say, like, will there be enough people to work there? It's a simple question. If the workforce is declining, then who will work at the company? It's simple. If there's no people, there's no people to work.
Yeah, but I mean, in 50 years, 60...
No, but I think it's even sooner than that, though.
You're so worried about that. Is the problem?
I feel like a total Cassandra here, because like I seem to be worried about it much more than other people. But there just needs to be people. If you don't make a new generation of people, there is no new generation of people. Artificial intelligence will be essentially a sort of a new species, or is a new species. So I think one of the biggest challenges, if I look at, say, civilizational risk, the risk to the future of humanity, birth rate is one of them. If we just don't have kids and dwindle away, that's one, which I've talked a lot about. The other is, there's always like potentially nuclear war, of course, that kind of thing. Then AI is also an existential risk. I think we need to be careful with the advent of AI, but it's very much a double-edged sword. You can think of AI as kind of like the magic genie, that like digital superintelligence will be capable of doing
anything.
Pretty much anything.
LiveFEED is an independent media platform. Our only mission is to bring truthful and independent reporting. If you'd like to support our work, join our channel as a member and be the first to watch all new videos as soon as they come out.
I think we need to keep a close eye on artificial intelligence. I mean, I'm in favor of some regulatory insight, just so that someone can at least be a referee. Like, if you think of any game, like there's always a referee for a game. For industries that affect the good of the people, there are regulatory agencies that oversee those industries. Anything that's dangerous is overseen by some kind of referee or regulator. I think we should have the same thing for AI, just to help ensure that it is beneficial. Well, I think there's certainly risk of artificial intelligence affecting voting opinion, I suppose, and manipulating public opinion. So I think there's some risk of, AI manipulating the public. I think there's some risk. Regulations in Europe, there are too many regulations. In general, I'm not speaking about a specific case of AI. I think one could look at this as overall a fundamental function of a stable civilization. The longer that any given civilization is stable and does not have a big war, the more rules and regulations will accumulate over time. So rules, regulations, laws, they are immortal. They never die. But people die. So if every year more and more rules, regulations, and laws are added, you will eventually make everything illegal. And you can think of it Gulliver's Travels, where Gulliver, if the nation is Gulliver, is being tied down by one little regulatory string at a time. And eventually you have millions of strings, and then the giant can't move. And so I think there needs to be something where we delete rules, regulations, and laws. Because if all we do is add them, eventually we will be able to do nothing. The brand advertisers are they're always worried about their brand, and maybe a bit more than they should be. But I think it's a short-term issue. Like I said, the advertisers, they sometimes get upset, but then they usually calm down and they return to advertising. So
come on, you know that there is the woke virus over there.
Well, yes, that's the problem.
I don't want to answer for you.
Yeah, no, you're right. If we're going to fight the woke mind virus, then the woke mind virus will fight back. And unfortunately, Disney is deeply infected with the woke mind virus. In fact, if you ask an AI what is the most woke company on earth, it's Disney. I think they should be asking themselves, what would Walt Disney think of Disney today? I think he's turning in his grave. I think he's not happy.
Sure.
If the namesake of the company is not happy, that's probably a bad sign. Because Walt Disney, what did he care about? He cared about bringing joy to people's lives. He making wonderful things that children and families could enjoy. And he created some of the coolest art in the world. I do think free speech is incredibly important, because if people cannot speak their minds, and then we won't have a democracy. Democracy is, the foundation of democracy is freedom of speech. Free speech is only relevant, free speech is only meaningful if you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Once you start to censor people you don't like saying things you don't like, it's only a matter of time before that censorship turns on you. Eventually, live by the sword, die by the sword. Live by censorship, die by censorship.
You are the richest person in the world. How is important money for you? From 0 to 10. 0 is the less important and is the good one.
I don't know.
I don't want to...
1 or 2 or something?
No, come on.
No, I mean...
One or two. Just one or two.
Well, if you say like, the reason I guess I have what wealth, or it's really just shares in the company, is that I've created these companies. With the help of many talented people, built these companies. And then the so-called, these wealth statistics simply add up what the ownership is in the companies and say, okay, this is a certain amount of money. But I don't actually have that in money. I have it in stock. It's just that the companies have succeeded.
How was the last launch? You were optimist about your SpaceX, the big...
Yeah, so, well Starship, so the exciting thing about Starship is that it's the first rocket design that could make life multiplanetary, that could enable a self-sustaining base on the moon and a city on Mars. So because it's not just a very large vehicle, but it is designed for full and rapid reusability, so that would lower the cost of access to space by, I don't know, maybe 100 or more. And so, basically, it's the first rocket that is capable of building a base on Mars and a base on the moon. Yes. The great Italian physicist Enrico Fermi. I'm a big admirer of Fermi, and he was very good at asking profound questions. And one of his questions, which is called the Fermi paradox, is where are the aliens? And one of the explanations is that, and perhaps I think the one that I think appears to be most accurate, is that consciousness is extremely rare. People often ask me, do I know about aliens or something like that? I get asked that a lot. And the crazy thing is that I've seen no evidence of aliens whatsoever. This means that I think most likely, at least in this part of the galaxy, we are the only consciousness that exists. And so you can think of human consciousness really as like a tiny candle in a vast darkness. And we must do everything we can to ensure that the candle does not go out. So if one cares about life on Earth at all, we should care about becoming a multi-planet species and eventually going out there and becoming a multi-stellar species and having many star systems. We want the exciting parts of science fiction to not be fiction forever. We want to make them real.